lovers, welcome back to the Bibliovert channel. My name is Jacqueline, and for today's video we are going to be talking about my favorite books of 2022. I narrowed it down to 15. I really tried to cull it down as much as I can, and I have three categories: YA fantasy, romance, and fanfic. So the first one that we're going to start off with is our YA fantasy category. Now, there were a few that were like books 1 and 2 in a series that I just happened to read back to back this year, but there are several on here that I'm really excited about. So we are going to start off with this one series in particular that I absolutely loved, and it was Once Upon a Broken Heart and The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. This is a companion series to the Caravel trilogy, and oh my gosh, I liked Caravel a lot. I loved these so good. I tabbed so many different places. It was just such a fun read. Both of them are whimsical and exciting and fantastical, and it just feels like a warm hug, but then there are twists that you don't see coming. There is heartbreak. The end of this book, I screamed so loud, but had such a good time reading. The third one comes out in 2023, and I am so excited. So these were a lot of fun. Cannot recommend them enough. They're just cute and fun and simple and good and wholesome, and I just had a really good time reading them. The next two are also by the same author. They are both standalones and they're not connected at all. But I read them one after another and really enjoyed it. But The Nature of Witches and Wild as the Witch by Rachel Griffin, they're both so good. This one had me absolutely sobbing. I just absolutely loved. I really connected with this one in particular. Loved Wild as the Witch, but The Nature of Witches just absolutely gutted me. One thing in particular about this book that I loved was that it encouraged you to take up as much space as you need, that you taking up your own space was not going to infringe on someone else's space, but that you are allowed to be as big or small as you need to be. And I just loved it. It was so good, so heart-wrenching, so tender and sweet, and I just had a great time. This one definitely had more of like the comedic factor of it, which was such a fun surprise, breath of fresh air. I really enjoyed it. The story was really sweet. There was kind of a little journey that you had to go on that was fun, and both of them were wonderful, and I just really enjoyed getting to read Rachel Griffin's writing. She also has another book called Bring Me Your Midnights that is coming out, I believe, August 1st of 2023, and I'm so excited. Nature of Witches had more to do with kind of like elemental witchy powers. This one, there was a witchy aspect, but it wasn't as strong and prevalent as it was in book 1. And then book 3, I believe it's kind of has to do with like water and the ocean and that kind of magic, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. Okay, the next one had me in a absolute chokehold, and I loved it. And it is The Ivory Key by Akshaya Ramon. I loved this book. It is about a family. I believe it's 5 siblings, and they each have a POV. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's based off of Indian mythology, and basically one of the siblings is queen, one is in prison, one has run away, one has just this weight of their responsibility on them. Each one of them has a reason that they want to be the ones to find the Ivory Key, which is like this mythological key. And so they go on this very Indiana Jones-esque adventure, all 5 of them together, and oh my gosh, I loved it. There is a twist and a betrayal at the end that I saw coming, and yet it still hurt so much, but I loved it. The Crimson Fortress is coming out in 2023, and it is one of my most anticipated reads for this year. I'm so excited, especially with the way that book one ended. I desperately need it as soon as possible. So highly, highly recommend this one. The last one that is on my YA fantasy category is Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was a lot of fun. This book is about a nun who is essentially possessed by this being called the Revenant, and she has to go on this journey to save her nunnery and to save other friends and things that she has, as well as the Revenant. And it's just this fascinating fantasy journey that I really, really enjoyed. It kind of felt like it was a breath of fresh air. I will warn you, there is absolutely no romance in this book. I mean, not even an inkling of a love interest. It is not there at all. So if you are more of the romantic-y kind of vibe, or you need romance in your books, this does not have it. However, I did not miss it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was so fun. I believe that there might be other books potentially down the road, but it's very much a standalone, which was a lot of fun. All right, moving on to the romance category. There were so many good ones this year that I absolutely ate up and had the best time reading it. I'm going to start off by another double author, and it is Tessa Bailey. I loved Hook, Line, and Sinker, which is the second book in the Bellinger Sisters series, the second to It Happened One Summer, and My Killer Vacation. Both of these, I loved them so much. Oh my gosh, this one legitimately had me crying. There was just a tender, sweet moment. The sister Hannah is our main character and the love interest is Fox. We had another self journey similar to The Nature of Witches, where Hannah fears that she is not going to be the main character, that she's not allowed to take up space the way that her sister Piper does. And it's just a really sweet journey of her realizing her worth and her value, and I absolutely loved it. Legitimately cried on the airplane reading this book. I thought it was really sweet. I actually prefer it over It Happened One Summer, which is also one of my favorite books of all time. I just thought it was really tender. And My Killer Vacation, I laughed the entire way through this book. It was so much fun. I loved our main character so much, related to her a lot. This book is about a teacher who is on vacation. She is a true crime junkie, and when she goes to her vacation rental, she finds a dead body. And a bounty hunter is called in on a favor to help solve the murder, and she follows him around, and the trouble they get into, it is so funny. It is definitely an insta-love, insta-lust kind of situation, but I ate it up. I thought it was so fun. There's a surprising amount of plot, a lot happens, but again, so hilarious. Has the Tessa Bailey wit and banter in it, and I ate it up. I don't even know which ones to do next because I literally loved them so much. Okay, we'll just start with whatever's on top, and it is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This is another one that I laughed my way through reading this book. I had to read the first 10 pages out loud to my husband. I was laughing so hard, and then as soon as I finished this book, I immediately called my mom and asked her to read it because I loved it so much. It is so funny. So we all know the Hallmark movie trope of the big city grumpy man goes to small town and finds out the true meaning of Christmas and falls in love and all that kind of stuff. This basically takes that trope, turns it on its head, and oh my gosh, it is so funny. This book is about Nora, who is from New York City and works for a publishing house, but she agrees to go to this small town in North Carolina with her sister to spend a month there. And the sister is trying the whole time to set her up with people from that local town so that she can have her this is the true meaning of Christmas moment. And instead, her publishing rival, Charlie, is also in the town. And so we have a little kind of enemies to lovers moment. It's so cute. They end up working at a bookstore. Absolutely adorable. Absolutely hilarious, and I literally loved every single second of this book. Highly, highly recommend. I have read Emily Henry's other books, and while there were some that I enjoyed, there were some that I did not, but this one absolutely blew me away and I loved it, and I'm really looking forward to Happy Place, which I believe comes out in April of this year. So can't wait for that one. We're literally moving into like 2 of my favorite books of the year. They're so good. So I finally did it. I went on a Mariana Zapata kick, and I believe I read 4. The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, Colty, Wait for It, and From Lukov with Love. And this book right here, game changer. I liked all of them. I really liked Wall of Winnipeg and Me. I adored this book. It's so freaking good. Oh my gosh. Okay, where do I even start? I don't even know. It is about Sal, who is a professional soccer player for Houston, and her childhood crush / soccer idol, Rainier Colty, becomes her new like assistant soccer coach. There's an age gap. He's 37, she's 28, so everyone is a consenting adult. Grumpy sunshine to the extreme. She is like the sweetest, happiest, most precious thing ever, and he cannot stand anyone. We have forced proximity. This book is exquisite. Slowest of slow burns. So if you need things to move along, this is not a book for you, but I'm telling you, the way I giggled throughout this book, brush fingers and like, I loved this book so much. I'm gonna do a reread soon. It made me like soccer, which is like really saying something. Literally could not recommend this book enough. I absolutely loved it. Again, all of the books are super slow burn. They're like not spicy at all. There's like one scene in the last like 5 pages, if you can even consider it that. So just a heads up, like going in slowest to slow burn, but it's like sweet and tender and good, and oh my gosh, I loved every single second of it. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Allie is currently reading this book right now, and I may have convinced her to let us do it on the Bibliovertpodcast, and I am so excited. If she doesn't like it, that's totally fine, I get it. But it is Twisted Games by Anna Huang. Y'all. Okay, where do I even begin? Bridget this is literally the Princess Diaries. Like literally the Princess Diaries. Bridget is becoming queen, and Reese is her bodyguard. So good. It's so good. I absolutely loved it. Again, I was surprised at the plot that was in it. Again, we have another sunshine, grumpy, age gap situation, but like Princess Diaries. Princess Diaries. So good. I absolutely love Bridget. Love her character. Love the side characters that are in it. Reese is fantastic. It is a little spicy, so like, just like keep that in mind. It's one of the spicier ones on this list, and I loved it. Loved it. So just like read it. I have read the entire series. I really liked Twisted Love, the first one. Again, I was not expecting there to be a plot, and there was, and I ate it up. I absolutely loved it. Then this one was hands down my favorite. The next one, Twisted Hate. There's one scene in particular in that book that I really did not like, so unfortunately it ruined that book for me. Did not enjoy it at all. But then the last one, Twisted Lies, I really enjoyed as well. But the first 2, specifically book 2, absolute favorite. So good. Another like spin-off series just came out, and I think it's called King of Wrath. And I don't know why I haven't read it yet, because I need to ASAP, need to read it like tomorrow. But this book, fantastic. And then the last 3 are fanfics. These are ones that I have talked about on our channel, and I actually have a video specifically for fanfic. It's like part 2 of our Let's Talk About Fanfic video. If you want to know more details about these 3 fanfics, you can find them on that Let's Talk About Fanfic Part 2 video. But the first one, which was actually my favorite book of the year, it is so good. It is The Disappearances of Draco Malfoy by Speechwriter. Y'all, this fanfic is exquisite. It is canon compliant and it replaces book 7. Basically, the premise is that when Draco is on the astronomy tower trying to kill Dumbledore, he instead takes Dumbledore's offer to be hidden by the Order with his parents. And along the way, Draco somehow ends up going on the Horcrux hunt with Harry, Ron, and Hermione. This book is so good. It is a perfect pairing of plot and character development, and it is exquisitely done. Exquisitely done. Draco's character arc at the beginning, he's still very prejudiced, very hateful, very angry, very driven by all of these awful things that he has heard and believed his entire life. But then because of his proximity to Hermione and the Muggle world, he becomes very introspective and realizes all of his wrongs and has this beautiful arc throughout the book, and it is exquisitely done. The plot and characters are so well written. A lot of times Hermione fanfic can have Ron bashing, which makes sense. However, in this book, Ron's character, specifically this one scene and setting that he had, I think was my favorite part of the book. It is absolutely stunning, exquisite, wonderful. I love it. I prefer this book to book 7, so I've just kind of replaced book 7 with this one, and oh my gosh, I ate it up. I absolutely loved it. It is fan-freaking-tastic. The next one is Measure of a Man by Inadays22. This book is long. It is like, it's long. Just know that going into it, but it is so tender and so sweet, and I absolutely adored it and ate it up. So essentially, this is set when Draco and Hermione are in their 30s. Draco is a single dad to Scorpius. Hermione had been working at the Ministry of Magic and had an incident that you learn about later on in the book, and instead has become a healer, and she begins having to treat someone that is close to Draco. So there's a forced proximity aspect to this book. Draco's son, Scorpius, is the best part about this fanfic. He is so sweet and tender. The relationship that Hermione and Scorpius have together is amazing. And reading this fanfic, I literally yearned for the kind of relationships that were described in this book, especially among all of the cast of characters. It was so beautiful, so wholesome, so sweet, just precious and heartbreaking and heartwarming and wonderful, and I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved it. Hermione has this giant greenhouse and lives on this beautiful like land with a little cottage, and it's just so wholesome and whimsical and beautiful, and I loved it, and I need to reread it soon because it's just exquisite, absolutely fantastic. And then the last one is Remembrance as War by Anya Paradox. This is the Order of the Phoenix 1 beat Voldemort. However, there is still a marriage law that goes into place from the Ministry of Magic, and Hermione goes to Kingsley Shacklebolt and threatens him that if Harry does not end up getting paired with Ginny, that she will systematically take down the Ministry of Magic. So because of that, she ends up getting paired with Draco Malfoy, and she decides to figure out what algorithm, what system, what reason did the Ministry pair the couples together? What was their point? Because they said it's because their magical signatures work together, but she knows that that's not true. So her and Draco work together to figure out why some couples were put together and why others weren't. And the ending is wild that I did not see coming. But truly, this fic is made up by the cast of characters as well. Specifically, Theo and Luna are so sweet and tender. I just really, really loved this fic. I thought it was tender and sweet and fun and exciting and just a really good time overall, and absolutely loved it. But those are 15 of my favorite books from 2022. Please let me know what some of your favorites are down in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts on these books. If you read any of these, let me know if you liked them or not. But if you would like to learn a little bit more about us, you can go to our Instagram, the Bibliovertpodcast. We also have a podcast called the Bibliovertpodcast. We have episodes that come out on Mondays on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Play. We usually read NA and YA fantasy, romance, sci-fi. It's just a great time. And then we also have a Patreon that is truly, genuinely one of the sweetest places in the entire world. Our family is incredible, and Allie and I are so blessed to have this group of book-loving people around us. We have a chat, we do a book buddy read every month and have a Zoom date to talk about that book. We have Patreon exclusive episodes and behind the scenes content, and it's just the sweetest, most precious, encouraging place in the entire world, and I'm so grateful for it. But we always have room in our family for one more, so if you are looking for a book community, we would love to have you come join ours. But I hope you have a fantastic week, happy reading, and I will see you next time.